Let's begin with another session. We hope that you are understanding and gaining new skills every time. Practice well and you are good to go. PHP or Hypertext Preprocessor is a scripting server language that is embedded in HTML and creates applications, e-commerce platforms, and interactive web page content such as creating a form, interacting with the databases, etc. This session begins with a brief introduction to this programming language that runs on a web server. It then explains the features and requirements of PHP and explains the steps of creating and saving a PHP file with a practical example. Then you learn about the PHP syntaxes, opening and closing tags, comments, white spaces, and so on with properly coded examples. Next, you learn about PHP variables and the steps of creating them. Finally, it rounds up with a brief description of echo, print statements, strings, operators, and more. Therefore, create a highly dynamic and interactive website with PHP and its components.
What is PHP? PHP is widely used scripting language used in web pages to create dynamic content. Dynamic contents like creating a form or interacting with the databases, managing and creating cookies. These are the dynamic contents of website. PHP runs on a web server. Whenever we write a code in PHP, we need a web host or a web server to run a PHP program. Because PHP is a scripting language, it runs on a server side. So what are the features of PHP? The first feature is handling form data. We can handle the form data using get and post method or using super globals. Second feature, sending and receiving the cookies. Third feature, collecting information about your website's visitor. Fourth, creating and modifying images. Fifth, creating shopping carts. And last is interacting with a secure third party to pay for online merchandise. So these are the features of PHP. PHP requirements. We assume that you have a web browser which is Java enabled, that is JavaScript enabled. Whenever we run a code in PHP, we need either a web host or a web server, because PHP code runs on a web server. And for that purpose, we need, if you are using a local host, then you need a XAMPP server. For that purpose, you have to install a XAMPP server before starting programming in PHP. So this is the part of requirements. We need a web browser and we have two options. We need either one of them. That is, first is a web host server that supports PHP. That is a server, we say web server, and another is a web server and PHP installed on your computer. That is a web local host, that we call it as local host. On local host, we have to install a XAMPP server. So these are the requirements of PHP. So let's start with the installation of a XAMPP. For the installation of XAMPP, we have to download the package of XAMPP. So you can download the XAMPP from this site, that is apachefriends.org. So from here you can download the XAMPP for Windows, for Linux and for Mac OS. So we are installing the XAMPP for Windows, so you can download this file, or if you are using Linux or Mac OS, you can download the XAMPP for Linux or Mac OS. So we will download the XAMPP for Windows. So click on this button, it will download a package or installer file for XAMPP. Once you download the XAMPP, this will be the installer file of our XAMPP. We are going to install the XAMPP on Windows, so double click on it. So now the installer file will begin to install a XAMPP server on our machine. So click on the next button. Now when you come here, it will ask where to create a folder or where to install a XAMPP. So it will create a XAMPP folder on C drive in Windows. So click on next. So now when I click on next, it will start a process of installation. While installing the process, I will tell you about XAMPP. So in the XAMPP, X is stand for cross-platform, A stand for Apache, M stand for MySQL, P stand for PHP and Perl. So this is the abbreviated form of XAMPP. So we can use the XAMPP for the local as a local host or a local web server. There are some components in XAMPP like cross-platform. Cross-platform means XAMPP support us to run our services, that is web services, on multiple platforms like Unix, Windows or Mac OS also. Then the second component is Apache. So Apache is a web server, worked as a web server on a cross-platform. It provides a HTTP request to our web server, and it works as a remote server to the other fields. Then M stand for MySQL. Now MySQL is replaced by MariaDB now. So PHP is a backend scripting language primarily used for web development, and it allows us to create dynamic contents and applications, to create an applications or APIs for e-com system or any other our web applications also. PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. Then again the next component is Perl. It is a combination of two high-level languages, that is Perl 5 and Perl 6. This is another programming language which we can use to create a web pages or a website or dynamic content of our web applications. Then next component is PHP MyAdmin. PHP MyAdmin is a tool which is inbuilt tool in a XAMPP. I'll show you after the installation of XAMPP what is PHP MyAdmin and how we can use it. So PHP MyAdmin is a tool dealing with MariaDB. Then another component is OpenSSL, that is open source implementation of secure socket layer. To make our web pages more secure, we use this protocol. Then the next component is XAMPP control panel. XAMPP control panel helps to operate and regulate the components of a XAMPP. We can activate the service of a XAMPP, that is Apache or MySQL or Mercury or FileZilla. These are the services we can control using the XAMPP control panel, or we can open the config files and we can change the configurations of our web services, or we can change the root directories of our web services. For that purpose we use XAMPP control panel. Then the next component is Webalizer. It is a web analytics software solution used for user logs and provide details about the usage. So all the logs of our servers or admin panels. It will contain all the logs in a Webalizer. Then the next component is Mercury. It is a mail transport system which we can integrate with our services. We can send a mail across the web. Sending a mail, we can use Mercury. There is another component of XAMPP. Then the next component is Tomcat. So it is a servlet based on Java to provide Java functionalities. If we are using any Java functionality, or we are using a servlet to handle our request on the web server, so Tomcat play an important role to apply these services on web server using Java functionality. And the last component is FileZilla. It is a file transfer protocol server which supports us to upload or download the files from the server or to the server. So these are the components which XAMPP provide us to create our web application or create our web pages. So XAMPP support formats like exe, zip file. These are the files which XAMPP support. So now this is the part or components of XAMPP. I'll show you the components of a XAMPP once the installation is finished. Now after installing the XAMPP, it will create a folder in a C drive named as XAMPP, and all our configuration files of all the components we can find in the XAMPP folder. So just let it finish the installation. I'll show you where actually it is stored, our services, and how it runs. So now it is finalizing our services installation. Now it is unpacking the files. It is completing our installation. Now when the installation completes, it will ask us to open a control panel in a XAMPP. So we will open that control panel after installing the XAMPP. So now my installation is complete, and now it will ask us to open or start a control panel now. So we will click on finish. It will open a control panel for XAMPP. So let's save it. Now this is the folder where the XAMPP is created. Now when we click on it, so these are my files, that is Apache, FileZilla, then Mercury Mail, PHP MyAdmin, PHP Perl, MySQL. So these are the files which contain the configurations. And htdoc, this is the main root directory. This is the main root directory of our web application or website. Suppose I want to create a new website, so I will create one folder in the htdoc folder, that is XAMPP htdoc. In this folder I will create a new folder named as project, that is my site name by which I will create a site. So that is the project, and we can run our project from here. So we will open our XAMPP control panel. So this is my XAMPP control panel. Now this is the services which XAMPP control panel provides us. There is Apache, MySQL, FileZilla, Mercury, and Tomcat. These are the components which we have discussed while installing a XAMPP. So let us start these services, that is Apache and MySQL. When we start the processes, it will create the ports, that is 3306 is the default port for MySQL, and 80 and 443 is the default port for Apache. Now here we can see this is Apache admin. When I click on this admin, it will redirect me to the local host of my XAMPP server. This is my XAMPP server dashboard. So from here I can access my web pages. So we will use the editor Visual Studio Code, and in the Visual Studio Code we will run our programs or our website through the Visual Studio Code. So this is the part of installation XAMPP server. Creating and saving PHP file. First part, any file containing PHP must have a .php file extension. Whenever we write a code in PHP, we need to save that file, and that file's extension must be .php. That is necessary. Second, PHP file can contain HTML in the same file and still work properly. Whenever we write a code or whenever we interact with the web browser, then we have to embed our PHP code with HTML, JavaScript and CSS. These code combinedly work properly on web browser. And the last, PHP file must run on a PHP enabled web server. As I already told that PHP need a web server, or PHP code runs on a web server. For that purpose we must need a web host or a web server. So this is the example of creating a PHP file. Start with the practical part, how to create a file. So now I am creating one file named as index. So I am writing some code in that file. So this is my code, a simple code I am using here. Now I have to save this file. So for that purpose I click on file menu, save as options. Now one more important thing, whenever we install a XAMPP server, that is I am running on this local host, that is why I need to install XAMPP. When I install a XAMPP, it will create a folder in C drive named as XAMPP. In the XAMPP server, when you come in a XAMPP server, you have to find a htdocs, that is our root directory. In that we will create one folder, any folder by which we have to create a website. So I created here a name folder with the name of project. So I open it and I have to save this file in that folder with extension PHP. So I select save type as PHP. Index is my file name and PHP will be my extension. So I'm saving it. Now you can see here index.php. This is my file. This is how we create a file in PHP and how to save file in PHP. Syntax used in PHP. Then we will see opening and closing tags. After that we will see termination of an instruction and comment and void spaces. So let's start with the PHP syntax. PHP syntax is the set of rules that define how a program should be written. Every programming language has its own rules to write a program, same as PHP. A set of tags are used to mark the beginning and end of a block of code. So whatever code we write in a PHP program, it should be enclosed within beginning tag and closing tag of PHP. So let's see the opening and closing tags of PHP. This is the standard opening tag of PHP, that is angle bracket, question mark, PHP. This is the opening tag, and this is the closing tag, that is question mark and angle bracket. So let's see in example now. So in this example here I am using opening tag and closing tag. So and the code of my PHP will enclosed within opening tag and closing tag. This is how we write a program in PHP. So next part is PHP instruction termination. Each statement made in PHP needs a method of indicating the end of statement. The semicolon is used for this purpose. So every program is a collection of instructions. Whenever we write a code or write a line, that should be considered as an instruction, and that instruction should be terminated or closed. So for that purpose we use a semicolon to terminate an instruction. So let's see in example now. Here in this example we declared a variable and we assign high value to its variable. Now this is one instruction and the semicolon is used at the end of that instruction, that is, it indicates that this instruction is terminated now. So this is how we use an instruction termination in PHP. So next part, PHP comments. You can comment out a single line of code or you can comment out large block of code. PHP comments are used in a PHP to tell a compiler that these lines or these block should not be interpreted. We use a comment to write a program description or to keep code temporary that should be used in another part or later on. For that purpose we use comments in PHP. So this is the example of PHP comments. We use // to comment out a single line, and if we want to comment a large block of code then we can use /*, then our large block of code, and then again we can close it on * and /. So this is how we use in comment in PHP. So next part is PHP white spaces. PHP white spaces is not significant to the PHP interpreter. Now what are white spaces? White spaces are the space we used to decorate our program, that is we called it as a white space, that is space or we enter. So PHP doesn't interpret that white space. So in this example you can see this. Here after opening tag of PHP I use a tab and then echo and hello world, the instruction that I have written down there. So this tab is a white space that I'm using. So in PHP will not interpret this part or this tab. So let's see in practical how actually it is. So first I write a PHP opening tag. This is how I write a PHP opening tag, and I use a void space, that is tab I'm using echo, and I'm terminating this instruction. So this is an instruction, one instruction, the whole line, and I'm terminating that instruction using semicolon. Now I am closing this PHP code. So this is my whole code in which I am using opening and closing tags, white spaces and semicolon. So let's check the output. So I am using here a comment. So I am using output hi. So this is my comment. So I just remove it first. I'll show you why. So let's run this program first. So I am saving this program. Now let's run a program. So this is my output of a program. Now what I will do, is I am just commenting this line. So I am actually giving an order to an interpreter that this line should not be interpreted in an output. So let's run again. So this is only my output. So when I comment this line, so this line will not be interpreted by the interpreter. So this is how we use comments. So this is the first, and if I use / and asterisk, by both way I can use a comment. So this is how we use a syntaxes in PHP.
Let's begin another session. We expect that you are understanding and gaining new skills every time. Nowadays, web designers use many programming languages to create interactive web pages, applications, or e-commerce platforms. One such scripting server language that is embedded in HTML is PHP. This session speaks of this language called PHP and starts with a detailed description of conditional statements such as if statement, if-else statement, switch statement, and more. Then you learn how to use these different statements with properly coded examples. Eventually, this session ends by explaining the detailed steps of using the different conditional statements with some practical examples. Thereupon, get ready to use this helpful language called PHP or Hypertext Preprocessor to create your responsive web page or perform dynamic web activities like sending emails or newsletters, receiving cookies, and collecting web forms. So, wait no more and get started today.
Before we start a variable, whenever we need to store some data in a program, so we need a variable. That is, variable is used to store the information. Once a variable is set, it can be used over and over again, saving you the work of typing in the value again and again. So once we declare a variable and once we store the data in the variable, we can use many more times in a program the same variable. So let's start the variable. Variable start with a $sign. Whenever we declare a variable in PHP, we must use a $sign before a variable. Containers for storing data. Variable is used to store the information or data. Variable names are case sensitive. let's declare or create a PHP variable. Containers for storing information, that is variable. Variable starts with a $, and variable can have short name or more descriptive name. Whenever we declare a variable, that should be meaningful. That name, variable name, should be meaningful, from which we can understand for what purpose we are using that variable or which type of data that variable is storing. So let's see an example. Here in the example txt, I'm using this text as a $, means this is the variable $txt, that is I'm declaring a variable and I'm storing this value, that is hello world. This is a string that this string is storing in a txt variable. So PHP echo and print statement. So once we declare a variable, we have to print some output. So for that purpose we use echo and print statement to show an output on a web browser. Echo and print are more or less same. Both the statements, that is echo and print statements, are used to output data. Echo has no written value while print has a written value of 1. The basic difference in between echo and print is echo will not return any value, where print return a value with 1. So let's see an example now. Here I am using echo statement. In the last slide we have seen this is a variable and this data we are storing in a variable. Now I have to print that variable or information. For that purpose we use echo statement. I'll show you an example how actually it works. PHP strings. PHP strings are nothing but lines of symbols or characters, or which we combinedly called it as a word or a phrase, that is a string. String can be stored in variables, that is we have seen in the last example hello world, that is a string that we are storing that string in a txt variable. Do not have size or length limit. String do not have any size or length limit. We can use large line of code as a variable or as a string. So let's see an example. This is variable 1 that I am declaring here, and the ABC, this ABC is a string, this and XYZ is another string. So ABC is storing in a variable 1 and XY is storing in a variable 2. Now we are concatenating, that is the dot operator I am using here. So to concatenate two strings we use dot operator. So here in variable 3 I am concatenating two strings, that is variable 1 and variable 2, and I am printing that string. PHP operators. PHP operators are used to perform operations on variable and values. So whenever we have to perform some operations, so we need operators, that is why we use operators. So there are operators which we are using. Let's see. First operator is assignment operator, second string operators, third arithmetic operators, fourth increment or decrement operators, fifth comparison operators, and logical operators. So these are the operators. Let's see what are these operators. So let's start with the assignment operator. This is the equal sign is used to assign a value to a variable. That for that purpose we use equal to operator. String operators, that is dot and dot equal to. Dot operator is used to concatenate two string, and dot equal to operator adds a string onto the end of an existing string. Arithmetic operators, to perform a mathematical operations we use arithmetic operators, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and modulus. Increment or decrement operator, that is plus plus and minus minus. Plus plus is an increment operator which will increase the value of a variable by 1, and minus minus which will decrement the value by 1. Comparison operators, that is double equal to, not equal to, is not equal to, is greater than, is less than, is greater than or equal to, and is less than or equal to. So these comparison operators we use in mostly in conditional statements. Conditional statement we will see on a later part. And the last is logical operators, and, or, and not. So and operator, suppose we are testing two conditions and we want to check whether both conditions are true, then we can use and operator. Or operator, in between the two conditions, if one condition is true, then or operator will execute, and not operator, if condition is false, then not operator gives a positive result, or else give us a negative result. So this is the operators which we use in PHP to perform operations. Now we will look at PHP conditional statements. Whenever we think about decisions we make based on at least one condition, that is it is being made or not, that is it is true or false, we made a decision according to the condition. So for that purpose we use conditional statements in PHP. Conditional statements are very important in any programming language. These conditional statements are same as, or its syntax is same as C or any other languages. So first conditional statement is if statement, second if else statement, third one is if else statement, and fourth is switch statement. So let's start with the if statement. This is the syntax for if statement. It will check the condition if this condition is true, then and only then the block of code in between the curly brackets will execute. Otherwise it will not execute the code in between the curly brackets. So let's see an example of if statement. Here in this example we have declared one variable named as number. We have assigned the value to that variable is 5, and we are checking here if that number is greater than 3. So we are checking here the condition. What our condition is, whether 5 is greater than 3. If this condition is true, then this block, that is this instruction, will execute that is, my browser will show an output condition is true only if this condition is true. If this condition is false, then this statement will not be executed. So this is about if statement. Let's move to the next part, if else statement. So this is the syntax for if else statement. In the if else statement, here we first check with the if condition. If this condition is true, then the if block will be executed. Else, if the condition is false, then the else block will be executed. So let's see an example of if else statement. So this is the example of if else statement. Just we are extending the last program with else statement. Here again I am checking the number, whether that number is greater than 3. If that condition is true, then this will print an output condition is true, else it will print an output condition is false. I will show you the example afterwards. So let's move to the next point, if, else, if and else statement. So this is the syntax for if, else, if and else statement. Here we are checking multiple conditions at a time. First, we check if condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute if block. If this condition is false, then we will check else condition, else if condition. Again, here we are checking another condition. If this condition is true, then this block will execute. Else, both the condition will get false, then the else part will execute. So let's see an example of if, else statement. Here I am checking, I am declaring one variable named as number, and we are assigning that variable value as 3. So first I am checking if number is double equal to 1, whether, that is, the condition is means 3 is double equal to 1. If this condition is true, then it will print an output number is 1. Else, if this condition is fails, then it will check another condition, whether that number is double equal to 2. If that condition is true, then it will execute number is true. Else, if, again we are checking the third number, whether number is double equal to 3. If this condition is true, then it will execute or print an output number is 3. Or if number 1 is not equal to 1, this condition get fails. Number is double equal to 2. If this condition get fails, and number is double equal to 3. If this condition get fails, then else block will be executed. So let's move to the next part, that is switch statement. This is the syntax for switch statement. We are checking here switch, and this is the expression that we call it as. It will check with the case 1. If case 1 is true, then it will execute case 1 block. Else, it will execute case 2 block. It will check with the number whether case 2 block is true or false. Likewise, it will check case 3 block. If all the blocks will get failed, then default condition will be executed. So let's see an example. Here I am declaring the same number 3 as a variable. Switch number, I am checking this 3 with case 1. If this condition is true, then it will print number is 1. If not, then it will come to the case 2. If this number is double equal to 2, then it will print number is 2. Else, it will come to the case 3. If number is double equal to 3, then it will execute case 3 block X statement. If this condition is fail, then it will check case 4. If case 4 is true, then it will print number is 4. Or if all the cases will get false, then it will execute the default statement, that is enter a valid number. So I'll explain it in example. So let's start with the examples. So here I am declaring a variable where we are assigning value to it. Now I am checking the condition. If dollar number, that is 5, is greater than 3, then it should print so condition is true. So in this example we are checking whether 5 is greater than 3. If this condition is true, then it will print condition is true. Now our output will be come as condition is true. So let's check an output. So this is my output, condition is true. What if this condition get failed? So I'm just increasing the value here. I'm using 6. So let's check. Now this condition will get failed and we will not get any output here. So here we are not getting any output because this condition is false, right? So this is the example of if condition. So let's move to the if else part. Same, I'm just extending this program. So I'm extending with else part. Else let's save it. Now it is again checking whether number is greater than 6. So it will print condition is false as an output. Let's check. So this is my output, condition is false. So both the statements, this and this statement, will depend on this condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute the if block. If this condition is false, then it will execute else blocks. So let's move to the next part, that is if else condition. So here we are checking multiple conditions. So I'm checking here whether that number is double equal to 1, then I'll print number is 1. If this condition will get fail, then we will write else if condition. We are checking another condition here. Now I'm checking with the number 2. If number is double equal to 2, then I'll print number is 2. So again we will check the third condition. I'm just copying it. Now I'm checking the third condition. If number is double equal to 3, then it will print an output number is 3. Else, now we are writing else part. So let's save it and we will check what output will I get. So number is 1 is my output. Why? Because here the first condition is matched. So let's try for the third one. So I am changing the variables value from 1 to 3. So let's check again. So this is the number is 3. What if I am making it false? Number is equal to 5. I cannot identify the number. Why? Because this condition is get failed, this condition will get failed, and this condition also will get failed. So all the 3 conditions will get failed, then it will execute the else part, that is I cannot identify the number. So this is the program for if else if statement. Let's move to the switch statement. So here we are using a break statement. This break statement is used to come out of the switch statement. Once this condition is get true, then it will break or jump out from the switch condition. So that is why we use a break statement here. So I'm just make a copy of this. So here I am writing 4 cases: case 1, case 2, case 3, and case 4. After that we will write a default block or default statement. So let's run this program. So this is my output. Number is 1. Why? Because I am here assigning a value to a variable that is 1. Will replace with the 3, so it will show me an output. Number is 3. Let's save it and again let's run. That is my output. Number is 3. So what we'll do, replace that 3 with 5. Now let's check. It will execute. Now it will execute a default part, that is default statement. Enter valid number. This is my output. Enter valid. Now we will see how to write a program for swapping values of 2 variables. So let's start with the first program. So we will create a file, index.php. This is my file, and now in this file we will create 2 variables and we will assign the value for these 2 variables, and we will swap the values of 2 variables. So let's start with the program. Now I am declaring one variable name as A. We are assigning value to it as 40, and another variable that is B, and we will assign value to B is 70. So these are my 2 variables, variable A and variable B. Variable A's value is 40 and variable B's value is 70. Now we will create a new variable called as temp. So this is my variable temp, and we will assign the value of A to the temp variable, and after that we will assign value of B to value A. So now we are changing the value of A, that is first A's value is 40, now A's value is 70, and then we will change the value of B, that is A's value that we have stored in a temp variable, so we will set as a temp. So this is my logic for swapping a variable, in which what we have done, the value of A is 40, that A's value we have stored this value in temp variable, and B's value is we are storing in variable A, and then in B we are storing the value of temp, that is value of A. So this is how we reverse swap the values of A into B and B's value into A. So let's print it. So let's print the values. Echo A is equal to value of A dot $A dot, that we have concatenated, and then again B is equal to $B. So these are the values after we will get swapping. So let's save this program and we will run this program now. So this is my output, value of A and B after swapping. A is equal to 70 and B is equal to 40. So this is my output. When we assign in a program, we assign the value of A is 40 and B is 70. So my output is, after swapping the value, is A is equal to 70 and B is equal to 40. This is how we swap the values of A and B. So this is the program for swapping.
Your resume says that you have the know-how of PHP. Can you tell us for what purpose we use PHP?
PHP can be used to develop interactive and dynamic web pages, apps, and e-commerce platforms as well. It is excellent for a variety of tasks like sending emails or newsletters, collecting web forms to send and receive cookies. PHP can also store, modify, or delete data in a database. For example, Facebook uses its own PHP version to scale users and the database.